Hello everyone, this is Professor Kemp. Today's recording is to show you how to set up a company from scratch. Again, we're working with chapter 4, and for this video I'm going to be creating a new company, and the company that I'm going to be creating is Skate Store. So it will be Skate Store. That's the challenge exercise that I'm working with. Again, if you need the information for this, you have to access this information using the top hats. So what I did is I logged into top hats, and from there what I did was that I downloaded the information so that I can create this file. So again, you go to the top hats to create this company. So the exercise will work, the challenge exercise that I will be working with is Skate Stores. When you do that, you have to say create a new company. So you open up Sage 50, create a new company, and when you do have the first one, you have to follow these steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when you do this, you need the write up from your book. So first one is the introduction. If I say next, it will tell me the name of the company. So when you have a name of the company, we always start with the name of the company is Skate Stores. If that's the name of the company, and then what you needed to do is you needed to put it in your name. So when you print your files, to make sure your files has your name on it to get marks for it. Then they said that it is a sole proprietorship. The name of the company is that. I saw the address is this thing. The business is Skate Stores, your name, and this is the address. I'm going to copy this so that it makes my life easier. I am going to have control this. That's the address. The address of the company is 514 Cannon. The city is whatever the city you are in. I am in Ontario, so you're gonna pick up. I'm gonna pick up Toronto. So that's where I live, in Toronto. So then the postal code is L0N1B0. So that's what they told us. So and then country is, of course, it is in Canada, and you could put it in any phone number or email address. If the company has a website, you could do that. And then this is my first one, and they also said that the business type is a retail, so we know that we needed to do that. Next, you could do this next at the bottom. They'll tell you the physical year start. So it is given to us the physical year. They told us that our last year was December 31st. Our current year is December 31st. The end date is December 31st. So what happens is the year will be you have to put it in. It is 26. We started on January 1st, and our year end is going to be December 31st. Now in the middle, when are we converting our files in from manual to computerized? In this case, they told us in the question where manual work is stopped on May 31st. This will be the conversion date. So that's when we are going to be doing our conversion, and I'm going to select May 31st. That's when I'm going to allow to do first transaction. So then you're going to say next. This is important. What we wanted to do is you wanted to select let me build the account by myself. If you don't select this, system is going to give you a lot of other accounts. You're going to spend more time deleting those accounts before you could start anything. So I will say let me build it. Then I will say next. You have to say you wanted to create your own account. Yes, I wanted to do that. You needed to tell what type of company is this. They told us in the question it is a retail company. If you look at it right here, is a retail company, and the business number is 711 number. So that's what we needed. While I'm here, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go. It is a retail company, and we're going to say next. You can create it where you have a room. I'm going to create it on the C drive. So next, And what I'm going to do is we're going to finish. The system is going to create. It sometimes takes a little longer. Sometimes it doesn't take so long. So let's see um, how long would it take me. Just be patient. It is creating the data files for this company, and then it's going to open. So of course, oh, I closed it, so I shouldn't closed it. So this is the new company. If you look at it, I am creating the, so this is the new company. It's a skate stores and my first name, last name. So everything is kind of there. But in this one, we don't have any inventory. We don't have any payroll. So what we needed to do is some of these things I needed to take it away. And how am I going to take? I only need certain amount. If I go to my setup and I go to my, the first thing you're going to go to is my user preference. I wanted to use my accounting terms. So that's what you're going to do, because I wanted to use English and invoices. This is the first thing I wanted to use the accounting terms. The reason why is it, I wanted to call it vendors and customers. So if you do that, that's what happens. When you do have a view, I do not want my inventory. I don't want employees and payroll, and I do not want anything to do with the division. So then I will say, okay, the color scheme, you could say different colors for different things. That's not important. And I'm going to say, okay, now if you go on the left side, it is changed to receivables, payables, banking, and a company. So that's where it is. So again, it was under the setup, and you have to go to user preference. You have to select the accountings, and you only want to view customers and vendors, and that's the only thing you wanted to do, nothing else. So this is where I did that. Now we are going to go ahead with it. We're going to do some of the things that the book is asking you to do. That I I'm going to try to move it so that I see same thing. Everything that you have in here, it is set up under the settings. So I go to the setting. The first one was my information. Information is, that's where we enter the company information. We already kind of set up. The only thing I didn't do it there was the business number. So I'm going to add the business number. My business number is my R11 1176. It is given to us and it is highlighted for you. Then the next one, you could go through each one and see it. The system, what type of system am I using the cash basis, or I'm going to do the accrual accounting. If you select on that, that means it's using a cash basis. If not, then it will be see, if you look at it here, it'll say that you wanted to do this. I don't want to do that. We wanted to do an accrual accounting. Backup isn't important because features are important. In this case, we are using orders and suppliers, and then if you are using it, you needed to select if you wanted to do that. I don't want to use these ones, but I wanted to use orders and the codes, so we're going to leave this alone. So we wanted to use orders, we wanted to use codes, we wanted order from the customers and codes from that. Then my payment processing, I could set it up if your company had a direct deposit or EFT deposits, and credit cards also can be selected if we wanted to. Again, we are going to do we're going to be setting up a sales tax too, and the tax code, so that'll come in later on. We are going to go to forms. So this is where I am going to go to my forms is my first invoice I wanted to start off with, and invoice number 983. Then the check number I wanted to start off with, in this case, it is not showing up. The reason why it isn't showing up, because I needed to set up uh, my my bank in order for me to show up. So if you go to the book, I brought something from your book. So it says if there is no box for the check number, if there is no box for the check number, so just like the invoices, these are the next numbers. If you don't show up, it the next number will be entered when you set up the bank account. Since I haven't set up the bank account, it will not be there. So there's not, it's not letting me do that. The only thing it's letting me do that is my invoice number. Check number will come up later. And then what we have is we have receipts. Under the receipt number, except one, and the customer deposits, they want you to leave it blank. So they wanted you to leave it blank, and they want you to select one. So I already done that. If your company is set up for emails, this is where you're going to be setting up. Under my general accounts, we have payables, we have receivables that we are going to do later on. At this point, I have done what I needed to do. uh, when your customers and vendors, they uh, will be doing part E when we select our payables and receivables under the options. We could do it here too. um, for the aging, this is what there is. A discount is, there's 210 net 30. You could select it at this time, or you could do it with the individual. So I like to do it what the system is telling us to do, and it is for my accounts receivable, and it is goes under my receivables, and I wanted to go under my discount, calculate the 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 early payment before the discount. So that's what I wanted to do. So you have to select it because you don't want the discount to be calculated on the tax amount. So we say okay, and I will say okay. So we have done this. Now we are, the next one is, if you go on the left side, the computer financial statement should have the following. You should have current assets, equity, capital asset, revenue. These are the accounts that we were going to be creating. Where do we create the accounts? Under the company. And if you look at it, there's nothing there because we haven't started up the company. So in order for you to create an account, these are the accounts that goes with this company. On the left side, we have accounts payable, we have receivables, depreciation expense, we have a cash in a bank. You needed to know what goes first: current assets, long terms assets, then you have liabilities, then you have equity, and then we have a revenue and expenses. From there, you needed to know where you're going to select the account. So if I double click on my chart of accounts, these are some of the headings that are given to us. We have asset, liability, and equity. Again, we do not change my X account. Once you change it, there's no way of getting it back. X account, what it does is takes the information from your income statement, puts it onto your statement of financial position. When you're creating an account, my first account, when you do that, I have it something, we have to have an H and we have to have a T account. So that's what we needed to remember. So I'm going to do H and a T first, and before I show you something, what you're going to do is you could go to file, you could create it. If you don't want to do it, put it on these. You could also use some of these things. So you could use this book to create an account. You could edit the account, you can modify an account. So I wanted to create an account, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a current assets. Current assets account starts with 1,000. So with the thousand, so the heading will be my current asset. And if you look at it, this is my heading H. If H is highlighted, it will be a heading account. You could have A accounts, S account, G accounts, and T accounts. So I only wanted a heading and a total at this point, and I can do save and close, but I wanted to create another account. I created a heading, and then what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a let's say 12.99 will be my total for your current assets. Again, you don't have to have this number, and I wanted to create a total account, and I'll say create another. So now if you look at it on the left side, it is showing you I have an H account and I have a T account. Now in between, I'm gonna put it in the account that are current assets. My first account that I'm gonna create is on from the book from the is a cash and bank account. When you do that, before I do that, I have brought in something from your book to show you what I mean by that. So if you have petty cash, bank checking account, uh, bank credit receivable account, if you have more than one cash account, then they will be A's and subtotal. And or if you have one account is a positive, the other one is a negative, you need A and two A's and a S, like an accounts receivable. And if you are not adding or subtracting, then you can create those account as a G account. So this is an example of when do we use an A account, when do we do a G account. If you're not adding or subtracting, so this is if you're not adding or subtracting, then it will be a G account. If you're adding and subtracting, it will be an A, and then you have to have an S. So this is what it is. So now first one is we wanted to look at the cash. Do I have a cash? Yes. Do I have a petty cash? No. Do I have anything that can be converted into a cash or cash equivalent? In other words, you have a savings account, checking account. If you don't have it, I only have a one account. If I only have a one account, and what I'm going to do is I am going to create an account. It will be cash in a bank account. I'm going to see that it shows you at the bottom too, and I'm going to create this. Let's make it 1010. Again, it doesn't have to be 1010. You can do 10 1001. And what we're going to do is cash in bank. I only have a one account. If you only have a one account, you're going to make it G. If you have more than one cash account, you're going to have an A account. Then you'll be selecting an A. If you do an A, you have to have a subtotal. So in this case, if you do a G, you just need a total. You don't need a subtotal. And class option is important because I needed to make this account a bank. If I don't do a bank, then that means that it's not going to show up when I do the linking. Also, my next deposit, I think they told us the next deposit was my check number was the number that I needed to show you. Bank deposit number is the number we wanted to do is we wanted to change it here. The deposit number they told us we wanted to leave it blank, and we wanted to I'm going to show you in the other one. You could also put your bank name here, bank account number, and the other one, and then it is a checking or a savings. You could also select that. And this is a deposit number. Change the next check number. I wanted to change it, but I have to save everything that I done. I'll say okay, and it has to be done in the other feature. We'll come back and do it later because I don't want to leave out of here. So then what we have is we have additional information. We're leaving it blank. Reconciliation, we're leaving a blank. Related information, we're leaving a blank because at this point we're just creating the accounts. We're not opening up any opening balance. So you could do that, but I like to do it at the end. I wanted to create all the accounts, look at it, and then go back and create my opening balances. So that's my first one. I'll say create another, and it'll be a blank account. My next one will be my accounts receivable. I wanted to say 1200. Again, I needed to know if I have accumulator depreciation. If you don't have it, then I'm just going to create an accounts receivable. Then it will, if you don't have an account allowance for doubtful account, you can make it G. But if you did have it accounts for allowance for doubtful account, then this account will be A, and you will have another A for allowance for doubtful account, and you needed a subtotal. That's the only time you need to do a subtotal if you have an allowance for doubtful account. I don't have it. I will leave it, but I needed to change the class option to be an accounts receivable. So the system remembers it. You needed to put it in every time you do that. So I will say create another account, and I'm going to go to my account, and my next one is my next one my I have is my what do I have, inventory, and I saw supplies account somewhere, store supplies. So let's do an inventory. My inventory will be, let's call it 1240. The name of the account is inventory, inventory, and then my it will be a G, and my inventory, I needed to select an inventory. So make sure you do that. And my spelling is incorrect. I'll create another, and my next one was my store supplies. So this will be my store supplies. I can call it 1260, and it will be, the name of the account will be store supplies, and it is my store supply is my, you could have an asset, or but we wanted to, we want a class option. It will be my current asset. And what we wanted to do is, we want, if you look at it now, it's showing as HT, and between I have the G accounts. And then what I wanted to do is, now I know I have created all the accounts, and then I wanted to create a new account, because I know I see a store equipment and I see accumulator depreciation. This is what we mean to do when I have A's and S's. I'm going to create another account. Before I could do that, I already have a H under my I have a current assets, and I have a total for current assets. Before I create my capital asset, I needed to do a heading. My heading will be for my capital assets, and that will be my heading. In this case, I go to my account, I have a group heading, and I will say create another. And then I needed to, let's say I wanted to create a cap total for my capital assets. So I'm going to create a total for my capital assets, and it's going to be T for a total, and I'm going to create another. So now you look at it, I have a, if you, this is automatically showing I have an H and T. Now in between, what I wanted to do is, I wanted to create some normal accounts. Normal account is my 1410. Let's do that, and it will be called, I have a store equipment, that's my capital asset, equipment, and I'm going to call that an A account, because I also have an accumulator depreciation, and I'm going to say create another account. So that will be the class option, and that will be my capital asset, and I will say create another, and then I'm going to go in here, I'm going to create a 1420, 1415, whatever you want to call it, and you can do you can do an intervals of fives, and I'm going to call it accumulated depreciation, and then I have to classify that under the accumulator depreciation, and I'm gonna go to my account, and that will be my A. So now if you look at the bottom of my screen, my yellow screen, it is showing how it is. When you have two A's, you have to have an S before you could have a T. So let's create another one, 1420. I'm going to have a total, subtotal, it'll be for my store equipment, store, and that is for net amount. You could do a net value, sometimes company call a carrying amount, and that will be my subtotal. Then you have to do a S. So I will say create another. So when you have, after T you have to have an H, after H you could have a G, if G, and then T. If you have A's, you have to have an S. So that's what it is. So now I have done created all the accounts. My next account that I'm going to go to is my my accounts payable. My accounts payable is your 2000 accounts, and then first I'm going to create my current liabilities. My current liabilities is my heading account, and then I will say create another. So now I have a heading. So I'm going there next, and I could have 2001, 2010, whatever you wanted to number it. It will be my first account is my accounts payable. Under the accounts payable, I go to my accounts payable. Again, I'm going to make that account a G account. My classification will be my accounts payable, and I say create another. So I go to my next one. I see I have to create an HST sales and HST purchases. When you have that, those say they are sales tax accounts, and I'm going to do it 2021 10, and I'm going to do it on HST on sales. You could my account, my class, my I go to my account. They will be A because you have HST on sales, HST on purchases. Then you're gonna have a net amount. So these one will be A. I go to my class of classification, and it is sales tax payable, and I will go create another. I'm gonna do 2015, and that will be my HST on purchases. HST, you could say HST paid on purchases. That's what they said, paid on purchases. And then it's a sales tax, but when I go into my class option, they will be A account, and I will say create another. So when you have, if you look at it now, going here, I just wanted to see what we are creating so you see it too. So I have two A's. If you have an A, you have to have an S to subtotal it, and I'm going to call it 220, and it is going to be you could say net HST owing slash receivable. So you could have receivables, and that will be my subtotal, and it'll be an S. So I will say create another. So now if you look at it, you have G's. After G's, you could have another G. If you don't have another G, you have A's. You have to have a two A's, and S is mandatory. Then the next we go to is my I don't have any other current liabilities. Now I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to call it 2299, and I'm going to say total liabilities. It's a total liabilities, and it's a group total. So I will say create another. So again, you have if you have a G's and S's, and you or A's, two A's, you could have more than one A's, but you have to have an S, and after that you could have a G, but if you don't have a G, you have to have a total. And then we're going to go to my long-term liability. We have a notes payable. That is my long-term liability. I'm going to start with 2300, and I'm going to have a heading because I have a T. If you have a T, you have to have an H. So it would be long-term liabilities, and long-term liability is going to be your heading, and then I'll say create another. And my long-term liability, I have one account. It will be my G2310, and we have something called notes payable, and it is for long-term. And that will be my G account, and I'm going to go to my class options, and I'm going to say it is my long-term it's my long-term debt, and I will have, and then once we have, if you look at the bottom of the screen, what I did was I created a heading, and now what we have to do is we needed to create the next account, which is your long term, and we created that as a G account. So I will say create another. Now when you have a current liabilities. So let's show you. You have a G. So when you have a G, you have to have subtotal. When you have a G, you have to have a total. When you have an ace, you have to have a S. So let's create another one. So I wanted to kind of see it what's happening. So it shows. So I'm going to create a long-term liability account, and I'm going to make it a T account. So it'll be long-term long-term liabilities, and that is my it is my T, and I'm going to make a T account, not T account, it's going to be a group total, and I don't need to do anything else. I'm going to create another. Now I come to my shareholders equity. When you do a shareholders equity section of it, we have an X account. X account, you can change the name of it, but you cannot change X into something else. So don't try to do that. So let's do, if equity account starts with 3,000, my first account will be the heading. And in this case, it's a sole proprietorship. If it's a sole proprietorship, it will be owner's equity. Owner's equity, that's my heading. Let's go to my heading. I will create another. And then when you have a heading, and now you're ready to do that. So we are going to have a owner's equity, and my next one will be my capital, your last name. That's what it's going to be, 3020. I'm going to call it, and I'm going to have a capital and whatever your last name is. So this is capital, whatever your last name. In this case, my last name is Kent. I will put a Kent. Your last name will be whatever you have it. So when you do that, this is a class option, and it is my retained earning account. So capital is my retained earning. Then I'm going to go create another. Oh, sorry, my class option, it'll be my subgroup. Why did I create a subgroup? The reason why I created a subgroup A, because I have a capital, I have additional capital, and I have drawings. So I needed to do a one total. So these accounts will all be an A account. So I'm going to create another. My next one will be my additional investment, my capital, additional. I have an additional investment, and it's an A account, and it is my equity account. So we will have an equity account. Where is my equity account? Create another. I go to my account. I'm going to have a drawings. You can also have a difference at startups, because what I'm not going to create it, but you could create a difference at startup. What does that do is, if you are doing a guide, you're setting up a guide, using a guide, so you could do you could use the difference at startups, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to show you an easy way to do this, and this will be withdrawals or drawings, and it will be your last name then, and then under the class option, it was an equity account, and it is a subgroup, and I'm going to create another. So if you go at the bottom, you will see it on the yellow screen that I have at the bottom. I have all the A's. Now when you have A's, the theory here is that I needed to create a subtotal account, and that subtotal account will be totaling everything. So in this case, I will number it 3050. Doesn't have to be this number as long as it is in 3000s. So we will have a net capital before current earnings. Before current earnings. Current earnings is your net income for the current year. So it is my subtotal, and I will say create another. So now I could close it here. Still want to create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Now, if you wanted to modify an account, so there's a different way of modifying it. Now I wanted to call the current earning account into something else. If I want to change the name, you could change the name, but I don't want to change the name. Current earnings is your current earning. But after that, anytime you have A's, G's, or S's or X's, you needed to do an you needed to do a total account, and that will be 36.99, and I wanted to call it total owner's equity. That will be my group T account, and we're going to say create another. Now we are going to go to my sales accounts, my revenue accounts. My revenue account starts with 4,000, so they all 4,000 is my sales or revenue account. Again, I'm going to have a sale, and first one I start with my heading, and I do create another, and then I go to my next one. My next one is my on the left side I have a sales revenue, sales returns, sales discount. When you have three in the same category, you have to have A's and S's. So we're going to do our first one. My first one is 4010. Let's do that, 4010, and it is my sales, and it is my group A account, and that is my revenue account. And I will say oh, it says that now if you look at it, I forgot to put another zero. The account number is out of range. Okay, I needed to put this as a zero. 4010. Come on. Something happened to my, sorry, something happened to my keyboard. It wasn't putting in the number. Come on. There, it is working now. And I'll say create another. So it is a sales. In this case, you could have a sales or sales revenue. To be precise, the account should have been sales revenue, but we could fix it. We'll show you how to fix it. So what you could do is you could go backwards. If I were to do this, go to the account in the on first on the list. If I go that, this is going to go there, but I don't want to go on the first. I wanted to go on the last one, this one, and I can just change the account to be revenue. Means you're editing that account. That will be my sales revenue. I will go to save and close. I don't want to do that. I wanted to go to my next. It says you want to save before using it. Yes. So now I already have an A, so my next one will be, I'm going to create a new, my next account is my sales return 4210, and it will be sales returns. And what we wanted to do is make this as an A account, returns. And I'm going to go one more because we have a discount, and it will be sales. Sales 4229, and it will be sales discount, and that's a subgroup. And I'll say create another. Oh, I keep forgetting to add another number, 0. Something is not working. So that is also a revenue account. Create another. So now if I were to show you something, I not intentionally made a mistake. So now what happens in here, I have a sales account, and then these are my return and a discount. What I needed to do is I needed to add my returns and discounts. If I needed to add them I'm going to have a subtotal, but I don't want sales to be part of my subtotal. So if I don't want it to be in my part of my subtotal, I have to change that account to be Z. And then what I need to do, I need to do a subtotal of my discount and return. So I'm going to create another. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to have that after my 4290. Let's say I should change the number, but we could do a 4291. Let's do that, 4291, and I'm going to call it sales deductions total. Means all the deductions, all the return and discount should go into here, and that will be my S subtotal. Create another. Now I'm going to do it 4292, and I'm gonna go sales net, and that will be my group, that will be my subtotal now. That will be my total, sorry, my group total. Save and create another. So I'm going to show you this at the bottom of the screen. I have a G, it is to the right side. We have these two accounts, my sales return and discount are on the left side. I wanted to subtotal it, then take the sales revenue minus the discounts and returns will give me a net total. My next one is I have a cost of goods sold, so I'm going to create an expense account. Before you create an account, I'm going to have a heading account, and my heading will be your expenses are in a 5,000. So I'm going to have a 5,000, my first account. I'm going to cost of goods sold. Under the cost of goods sold, you could have a beginning inventory, ending inventory, purchases, discounts, all those ones. This is a perpetual inventory system, so we are going to have a cost of goods sold. So this is my heading first. Under there, my heading is my cost of goods sold. Create another, and I'm going to create 5,001, and it will be my cost of goods sold account. Cost of if it's a cost of goods sold, I needed to put it under the cost of goods sold, and it will be my G account. It will be my G account, and I will say create another. Now we also have a purchase discount. So we have a purchase discount, and that goes with your cost of goods sold, and I'm gonna do it 50/50, and we call it, we don't have any purchases, but we do have a purchase discount account, and that will be cost of goods sold, and it will be my G account. Create another. So if you look at it, I'm going to show you on the bottom of my screen. If you look at it on the bottom of your screen, you will see G. And now this is my last one. Under the cost of goods sold, I'm going to do 599, and that is my total cost of goods sold, and that is my T account. We'll say create another. So now we are done the cost of goods sold section of it. After that, we have expenses. So let's see if we have expenses. We have a store, so we have some of the expenses that belongs to store. So we're gonna have heading 5,300, and we are gonna call it store expenses. Or you could have operating expenses. If you have operating, you can separate the operating from the store expense. This will be my heading, and we're going to say create another. We have a IC from the left side. We have a telephone expense, we have a rent expense, and we have a depreciation expense. Those are the three that we're creating, and I'm going to do first one 5310. We will have a rent expense, if I could spell rent, and it is going to be my G, and our class option will be expense. Create another. I'm going to go to my first tab, which is my account. It is 5320, and that is for my telephone, and that is my G account, and class is create another. I go to my first one. Next one is my 5330, and it is my depreciation expense, and it is for all the depreciations that we are going to do, and it is a G. I will go create another. Now I needed to do a total 5399, and it is my total store expenses. And I'll say save and close. Now I created all the accounts. Before you start entering the balances, what I needed to know is I needed to know if I did everything right. the accounts that I created, because I rather do that first before I could do anything else. So at the top, what you could do is you could display a trial balance. If unless you do it, then you did everything right. If it doesn't, it will tell you where you made a mistake and then you fix that mistake. If I do a trial balance, and let's see if it lets me do that, and I say okay, it lets me create the trial balance. If it lets you create, it means you did everything what you're supposed to do. You did everything right. And now what my next step is to enter the balances that we have on the uh, on the in on the trial balance that was given to us. So again, I don't want it to do a difference at startup, so I wanted to put it in the balances in one go. So where am I going to go to do those balances? I'm going to go to my chart of accounts. I'm going to double click it. You do not need to enter anything under H. If his account is H or account is a T or account is a subtotal, you do not need to enter the balance in those ones. So, oh, sorry. So I am just going to put it at the side so I see everything. So I'm just going to start with my first one. My first account that we had was cash in a bank. So this was my first one. Again, what you have to do is you have to enter the balances in there. So in order for you to enter the balance, you needed to know what the normal balance in that account is. If it's an asset account, it has a debit balance. Normal balance is a debit. Any contra accounts will have a credit balance. For example, will be your accumulator depreciation. But before we get there, let's double click. Now what we're going to do is we have a cash in a bank account. We had a balance of 424. So that's the balance. I'm going to add 424, and I'm going to go, if you look at it, I'm going to go to my next account in the list. And I can do save the changes without asking. I will say yes. So I'm going to go to my next one was my accounts receivable. The balance in the accounts receivable normal balance is 1356. So I'm going to do that. I go to my next one. My next one is my inventory. System automatically remembers that I don't need to add anything to the subtotal or to the T accounts, but we needed to remember that my inventory, the balance in your inventory was 6100, and I'm going to add the 6100. Then go next. My next account is store supplies. From the left side, I have a store supplies, balance is 200. I add the 200. So I go to the next. This is my total current assets. You see there is no opening balance because that's the total. So I go next. My capital assets, there is no balance. We know this is my heading account. Go to my next one, store equipment. We have a balance of 23,700. So that's the balance, 23,700. So that's the balance. We go forward, and this accumulator depreciation, we have a balance of 41,000, but accumulator depreciation sits on the assets, but the balance in that account is a negative balance, so a credit balance, so we will put as a negative in front of it. So if it's not the normal balance, you put a negative. So that's what 4100 is. So 4100, you put it as a minus in front. So I go to the next. I don't need to add anything. Go to next. Total. My heading I don't need to do. Now my accounts payable, that's my balance, and the normal balance that account is a credit balance. I do not need to put a negative. Go to next is my HST on sales. It is HST on sales is a payable, so it is 252. I put it as a normal. My HST on purchases, it has a recoverable, it has a negative balance, 1136. And we go next. It's a subtotal or a total. We don't need to do anything. My long-term liability heading, and my long-term liability has a balance of 21,400. I will do next. My heading, I don't need to worry. My owner's heading, I don't need to put. My capital, the balance in my capital account was 9240. So let's add the 9240 and we go next. My additional investment is 0. We don't need to add anything. My drawings do have a balance. My drawings has a balance of I'm good 1000, and that will be a negative because it has a debit balance, but it sits under the equity with their normal balance or credited balance. Going forward, and this is my current earnings. I don't need to do anything. I have to go to my sales revenue. I have a balance in my sales revenue 14,165. 14,165. I go to my deduction, returns. My returns is 350, and that because it has a debit balance, I will put it as a minus. So go to my next one, my sales discount. The balance in that account is a negative and it is $300. Go to my next one, my cost deduction I don't need to do, total I don't need to do. My cost of goods sold, they told us the balance, that's an expense, the balance is 13,185. Again, I'm getting the balances from my trial balance that was provided to us. Purchase discount is it has a credit balance. I needed to put it as a negative, and I will have to find the balance first. It is 12,125 minus 125. Let's go further to my store expenses, and my first one is my rent. My rent is 3,200. I hope I'm adding everything right. I don't have a ruler. So let's go to my telephone. It's the last one. That is your 800. I go to my next one, and I go to my depreciation. Depreciation. I am looking, and there is nothing in there under the depreciation. So I have save and close, and I will close it. Now it's I'm out, means I did not add something that I should have added. So I needed to put somewhere the difference. Maybe I made a mistake when I was entering it. Now I have to go back and fix those. So let's put the difference. I didn't create a difference at startup. I'm just going to put it to the last account, and then I'm going to go and see where I made a mistake. So I'm going to display where I'm going to display a trial balance. When I do that, I needed to see where am I out. So let's put it in. So my cash account had a balance 424, and my 1356 is good. My inventory is, oh, this is where I made a mistake. My accounts receivable were 1243, and my accounts payable was that, so I made a mistake there. So I needed to fix my accounts receivable. How am I going to fix it? I'm going to go to my accounts receivable account, and I'm going to change the balance to be 1243. The balance of my accounts receivable, I made a mistake because I didn't have a ruler. So I'm going to change this number to 1243, and I'm going to put that, save and close, and I'm going to put it to my difference at the account that I created. So that one is good. So now I needed to see what other one I did not do right. So let's go to my trial balance again to see it, because sometimes everybody can make a mistake. Let's see what other one is incorrect. So we have telephone expense, we have store supplies are good, and we have store equipment 23,700. We have 4,100. Accounts payable is my 1356. Now, if you look at it, my purchase discount, the balance of the purchase discount was 125, and I added an extra zero. So we all can make mistakes, right? So as long we fix what needed to be fixed, don't get frustrated. All you have to do is look at each one and see which one needed to be changed. So I know that I know my next mistake was I made two mistakes. So the other one is my purchase discount, and the balance should be 125, and then I'm gonna say minus 125. I say save and close. It's gonna say where do I put it. I will put it to my depreciation expense because that's where I don't have a difference at startup. Now when you do that, we wanted to know if you balance now. So we have balanced it. We don't, if you look at it, you could double check it before you could go forward. It was balanced before too, but the accounts weren't right. So you wanted to make sure your account balances are correct. Now here you could also do other 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 financial statements. So we don't need to worry about those parts. Now we're going to go. Our next part is part G, is to create the tax account, tax classes, codes, and rates. Where are we going to do that? We will show you where to do that. There's a different ways of doing it. I'm going to go from the top. You are going to go to the setup at the top, and then you go to my setting, and under there we have a sales tax. That's what you're going to be doing. So again, you're going to go to the setting, and that's where you're going to be creating the account. So this is, you're going to be setting it up, your sales tax, and it is HST. And then what we needed to do is we needed to put a register, the business number. We know that our business number is, they told us the business number in our book. The business number that we started off is this one. So your business is registered for an HSC number, and that's the number you will be putting it in here. So that's the number you will be putting it in. It didn't come up, so that's okay. I'm just going to put it R1176, or you could have any number that any number that your business is registered. That's what you have. Every company has a unique number what they register for. That's what you have to do. So when you're setting this up, that if your accounts are set up properly, it will automatically show you the accounts. In this case, I will double click on that. What I'm looking for is, I'm looking for my at the top. If you look at the top, you don't need to remember this. Account to track the tax paid on purchases means we're looking for HST on purchases. So HST paid on purchases, that's what I'm looking for. I selected. Then the next one is your sales. I will select the sales. If you wanted to, so if you wanted to report, we'll say report on taxes. Yes, we wanted to do that. And then we have done the first one. So that's my first one. My second one, you have to do this first and then do the codes. So the codes is, I needed to create them. And first one is, we're creating codes here. So they will tell you in the question what kind of accounts, what kind of taxes we are creating. We're creating HS, HI, and HST. So those are the three that we're creating. And let's do the first one. What we're going to do is, let's do the, you could do any ones. In this case, I will start with HST. So sorry. So HST. So I'm starting with HST. If you do that, what is that stand for? Now, of course, we know that I'm making my life a little bit easier. Control C, and I'm just going to do Control V on the all journals, right? Or you could do it harmonize. H stands for harmonized tax. So you can even make it more tax rate. Harmonized IZED. And then we go to the next one. We have, of course, before you go, it's asking you to do that. So we have an HST, and then when you do that, when you have HST, we have 13%. When you do the HST, you do you could do 13%. depending, sometimes what we have is company gives you different rates if the company was in a different province. So HST we have 13%. We say no for the included in the price. No, it HST is not refundable. So HST is not refundable. PST is refundable. We will say select, and then you could do this one also if you don't want it to. Sorry, here, oh, I didn't save it. Come on, 13%. Then what are you going to go to the next one? You could do it HI. The first one can be HS too. So if you wanted to create that as an HS, you could do that too. So you could make that as an HS, but third HST is also okay. So when you're going to there, you are going to have an HST. In this case, we have, when you're doing an HI account, what we had to do is we needed to do 8%, right? So when you're doing an HI, the code is 8%. So what we're doing is we're not charging, the HSC is not charged 13%, it is an 8%. And then we say no and no. The HI is used for insurance. So when we have insurance, that's when we use it. So we say okay. So that's where we have to set up. We did part G to create the taxes. So now we're going to go next. What we have is we have a customer. So we have accounts receivable and we have an accounts payable. This is the opening balances. Before we make it ready, we needed to enter those accounts receivable. So you have a receivable and payable. So let's create your receivables and payables. The first what you want to do is we could create the receivables, and then we could go to create the payables. So we wanted to know the balance in your subsidiary should be same. If it's not same, you might be asked to do a unknown vendor. But before we get there, we needed to create a new account, new vendor, new customer. We say create, and the name of the customer is Elvis Skates Corporation. That's the name, and the contact name is, who do we contact when we deal with this customer? Elvis, SCHAFER, is on the left side, and the address is 2 Haroon Street, and they are in Woodstock, Ontario. Postal code is N4S1A5, and we have everything. We don't need to enter the information, but we have one invoice that we needed to enter. The shipping address, we don't need to worry about it. The option is, if we wanted the option, if they tell you the option, in this case they told us the revenue account is the sales account. So you go under the options, you pick the sales account. That's what you wanted to do. 210 net 30 is there, so everything is set up. And then go to the option, HSC example. No, we have to charge them the 13%. How do I know that? Because they said there's an HST, so we have to charge them 13%. So that's the 13%. I will go to my you could go further down, and then I needed to go to statistic because they told us that we have 5,000 is the credit limit. So that's where I put my 5,000 credit limit. Now if you go forward to here, I can enter the historical transaction, and I have to save the customer first before I could do a historical transaction. And then you could, first one is the invoice, the payment. Sometimes we make a mistake with invoice, then you have to make a payment because if it's a historical transaction. We click on the invoice number they told us on the left side is 980, and the date of the invoice was May 24. So I select the date, and that is the 24, 210 net 30. The pre-tax amount is this is the invoice amount, so that's the invoice amount, but it has 1433 is taxes, so I know this is 143, and this will be So I needed to add, so I think 1100 will be my other one. So the part you have to do is if 143 is included, so you have to take the 1243 minus the 143 to get the pre-tax amount. So this should look like exactly like that. So they told you the invoice total amount, so you have to take, as an accountant or as an accounting student, you have to know what was the pre-tax amount. You take the total amount minus the HST to get the pre-tax amount. So I will say recorded. I done everything for my accounts receivable, and what I do is I close it. Now I'm going to go and create my accounts payable. It's the same way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in, instead going to receivable, I'm going to go to my payables. Under the payables we have customer, we have vendor, so we are going to double click on that. And when I'm going to do a create, I'm going to create it. Now you're exactly the same thing what we doing, what we did before. I'm just going to go to the right. My first vendor is Skates Supply Limited, and the contact name, of course, you have to kind of, I have to go to the, my screen is not letting me do what I want to do because I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. Oh, there it is. The person's name is Greg that we deal with. The street is 43 McKay Avenue, and it is in Windsor, Ontario. And then we have a postal code. These information is for your purpose. When you're asked to do a test or you're creating it, you should enter all the information. I'm going to leave a blank at this time, but the part address, I'm going to leave it blank because I already created it, but the information is given to you. I'm going to go to the options. Under the option, they said they leave the account blank, so I'm going to leave it blank. But in this case, this vendor is 2 and 10 and net 30, and I'm going to say calculate the tax before taxes because I don't want any discount to be calculated on taxes, on discount on the taxes. Is this exempt? No, there's an HST showing, so I'm going to do the 13%. Then we are going to go, there's no credit limits for those, so we don't need to worry about, but I have to go to the historical transaction. The invoice total in this case, pre-tax amount is 700. This will be 91, and my total amount will be 791, but I forgot to put the invoice number. Invoice number is 6512, and then the date on the invoice is May the 10th. I will do that, and I will record the transaction and I will close it. Now I have to create a new one. The next one, we have a manufacturing supplies. So I will go here, manufacturing supplies, supply, and then the name of the person is Jesse Grant, and it is, the address is Bancroft and Sudbury. I don't need to worry. I'm going to go to the options. They said to leave the expense account blank, but this we get 10, if you pay within 10 days you get 2% discount. Calculate before taxes. I go to my taxes, I put my HST, I know that, and I have to go further. I needed to add a historical transaction. I go to the invoice number, they told us 1431, and the date on the invoice was May 28th. Let's change the date. Pre-tax amount is the total amount is 565, so pre-tax is 500, and this is 65. The total amount is 565. So we have done what we had to do. So I will record the transaction and close it. So I have done everything what we're supposed to do. Now what we have to do is turn the system ready. Once you turn your system ready, there's no going back. So there is no going back once you make your system ready. So what they want us to do is make the system ready. I recommend you make your you do a backup before doing that, but I don't want to do that because I know that there's no mistakes. I don't need to go back, so I'm going to make my system ready. How do you make your system ready? I'm going to go to history at the top. Make sure you have done everything right. So in this case, they're saying that now I got a message. It's saying the modules are not linked. So I forgot something to do. I said, okay, let's go do that. I'm going to show you how to link them now. Go to the setting, and I'm going to, you have a, we have linking everywhere linking goes. So this is where the linking will be under the general accounts, under the payables, and under the receivables. So let's go from the bottom. If I go to the linking, you are going to click on the first one. In this case, we have the principal bank account. You have your accounts receivable. Now these are default deposit, and these ones, this is will be given to you in the question. What will be your default accounts? If they're not given to you, then you needed to make whatever you need to uh, do your best to put it in the right account. So my default, if I only have a one default one sales account, I can select that. Now these are some of the things that if you look at it, I have a deposits, I have online and online payments. I can take these things off too. So before I do that, I'm going to show you how to take those things off, because I don't have EFT deposits. I go to my user preference and I go to my view, and when you go to the view, we have our features, billings, all those things. I can take them off. And then also when you go under the options, you have your accounts receivable. We were trying to do accounts receivable. When you go to your accounts receivable, you can view your accounts receivable, and you can take some of the things off if you don't want to see them. So if I don't want to see this, right, this part, and I can take them off too. So freight revenue, we don't have anything. We don't need to worry about it. Sales discount, if the company, if they pay us early, then we needed to select. And then for the deposits and prepaid, we will use the accounts receivable. The online is only available if we're doing the EFT payment, electronic payments. So these are for the receivables. I say okay, and then I go back, go under the settings. I already done receivables. So now next one I can do the, if you don't want to save it, you could just click on the left or right to do that. My principal bank account will be my cash, accounts payable. When you do your freight expense, we don't have any freight. Early payment goes through purchase discount account, and if it's a prepayment, it will be my accounts payable. So prepayment will be my accounts payable. Oh, I keep hitting the sorry, the OK button. If I don't press the OK, it lets me do go from one area to another area. So I'm going to expand it. I'm going to link and then go to the invoice. We already done the that one. So now I don't hit OK. All you do is minimize it and then let you go to the company. So let's go the link here. There should be one account that I needed to link under GL. So this is my linking account. Here will be my capital account. So that will be my capital account. Don't change the X. Do not delete it. Don't change it. So this is how we do the linking. Now we have done. I should not get a message now. So let's say that so you're about to finish entering the history. This cannot be reverse. I know that, but I would recommend you doing a backup in case you make a mistake. Your work is saved. So I will say proceed. And then what we needed to do is they asked us to do a June transaction. In order for me to do a June transaction, we purchased something. If you purchased it, we needed to advance a date. So I will advance my date to June 1st. That's what I will advance it. I will say, okay, it's saying, I say, you have now backed up. Would you like to back up now? I will say no. And then I'll say that you wanted to do this. I don't want to do anything. I will close it. but I will close these things. These things comes up automatically when you're doing it. So what did we do? We issued a check to purchase a new shelving store equipment, 800 plus the HST on this account from a one-time vendor, which is Jason Nutella. So we purchase something, we have to go to an accounts payable, and then we purchase it from them. So we don't have anybody under there. Now you can do a one-time customers. We don't need to create a full ad. So we don't need to do, this is the only time we don't need to do a full ad. So what we did is we purchased from them. It's a purchase invoice. Again, you could do a full ad or a quick ad. I'm just going to do a quick ad, and we paid them, we issued a check. So it is not pay later, and we issued them a check. And what is our check number? Our check number is 468. So that's what my check number is. Who did we purchase it from? It says from one-time vendor Jason. I'm just going to put it Jason, Notela, Nutella. Nutella, and the invoice number was, its question is asking, is this a one-time vendor? We're going to do that. Yes, it is a one-time vendor. The invoice number is 5609. I need to make it a little bit smaller so I could see it, or I can move it this way. So it is 5609, 5609, and the date is that. So what did we purchase from them? We purchased a store equipment. So again, when you do this, what we did is we got a store equipment. So in this case, it is not an inventory we're purchasing a capital asset equipment, and the amount is for $800, and it has a tax, and it has 13%. They told us it is a 13%. That's the tax that we're doing. And I will say select. And then what did we do? We bought an equipment. So now I needed to select an account where I'm charging it to. It is to a store equipment account. If I were to show you, display this journal entry, go to the top. It says report, display the purchase entry. Debit will be store equipment. Credit is my cash. Now if you look at it, it's not showing me HST. So something is not right. It's not showing you an amount. So in other words, if it doesn't show, means it is looking for a price. The price here is $800. What did we buy? We bought one of them. If it doesn't show up, you needed to see what's happening with it. So it is showing up here. So let's see if it shows up now. If it doesn't show up, that means when I created something, I did not create something right. So something is not right with my HST. It's showing up, but it's not showing up in my journal entry. So let's see where it is. It could be when I created this customer, it's just showing as nothing. So if I were to go back to, I'm going to minimize this. Oh, it was a one-time customer, so it's not going to do that. So if it was a one-time customer, so that's why it's not going to show. So before I do this, I'm going to close this because I needed to come and do this again. So I'm going to close it, yes, because I needed to know what I did with my HST when I did my HST account. So that's could be one of the reasons if it's not showing up. What did I do? Maybe I put it as a refundable. So let's go under my company and my sales tax, my tax code, my HST. This part is good. So when I set up my code, let's see if I did something. Oh yeah, so it's just it's refundable, and I say yes, and say okay, and we say okay. Let's see now. I was trying to create an invoice for a new person. I needed to do it again. Jason Nutella. I thought it was Nutella, and the number is up in quick add. Yes, it's a check number was 468. the invoice number 5609. All we had to do is put it in the amount and it should do it automatically. See, and then I have to do an HST. Let's see if everything is the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes I think I clicked it. I in my mind I click it, but I don't click it on the screen. But these are some of the things could happen. So let's display my journal entry. Oh, now I don't want this, so I'm just going to customize the journal entry. I don't want to see item number. I don't want to see um, quantity. I don't want to see unit. And I'll say okay. So when you do that, it automatically takes the other things out. So that's how you could go edit, view. You can customize your journal if you wanted to see something or not. If I don't want to see it, you could take those out. If you wanted to see it, you could put it back, and you could do whatever you want to do with this window. I will say okay, but I wanted to display item number is missing. See, if it is looking for a item number, I'm going to leave this that I purchase. Sorry, I wanted to charge. I wanted to charge to store equipment and see what happens. See, there's no inventory. I don't have an inventory. So if I try to show you the journal entry, it's looking for an item number. If you buy an inventory, you have to select the item number and the item description, but I don't need to do that because I know I purchased a store equipment. I don't need to worry about it, but I don't want to see divisions either. So if I go to the view, you could customize the view, and I wanted to take the division out because I don't like to see that. And everything else I could see. I will say okay, and I will save this transaction. I will post it. Check number you enter is greater than the next number. Yes, I know that because that's my first one. I will say yes. I will say okay. Now what we did is we did everything what we needed to do. Now you might be asked to submit some of the reports. You wanted to make sure your name is on all the reports. So if I ask for a trial balance or a journal entries, I can do journal entries, and I will say we only did a one journal entry. If you look at the top, skate stores, and my name is there. If your name is not there, you needed to go back and enter your name. Where would you enter your name? Go back to your setting, under the company, under the information, you will add your name. Make sure you add your name on the company information, so every report that you print, it shows you shows you your name. If I were to show if I were to print an income statement, I can go from the reports here. I wanted to go financial income statement, and what I wanted to do it from January to June. So I will say okay, the total should be 3,540, and that is the right total. If you look at it, this is how your income statement should look like. I wanted to see my balance sheet, so let's look at our balance sheet. We will say it. I will say okay. Now it should look like the way it is. Now look at your store equipment and your accumulator, one minus the other, and then the subtotal goes to the other side. So it should exactly the way you learned it in your first accounting course and your second accounting course. This was a recording for chapter 4, creating a company from scratch. You created a company from scratch. We showed you how to create chart of accounts. We showed you how to link the accounts. We showed you how to do one journal entry. So you should be able to do your I also showed you the payable one journal entry. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you wanted to see more videos. Let me know what you want to see so that I can record it for you. Thank you again. Take care and bye for now.